What's up?
Oh, I'm just compiling all the top sports scores, news, and odds so I can make the very best bets.
Me too. BetOnline.ag.
Join today and receive your 50% welcome bonus at betonline.ag.
Warriors All-Star Kevin Durant suffered a devastating injury. Looks like a ruptured Achilles. The Warriors are going to be without him to finish the NBA Finals. But moving ahead and looking forward to NBA free agency, what does this mean now? Gentlemen, Kyrie Irving reportedly interested in teaming up with Kevin Durant. Of course, we don't know if there's any truth to that matter. There's only speculation at this point, but still, this is a domino effect for free agency moving forward. Max, let's start with you. What does this mean for the Boston Celtics?
I mean, that's off the board if you're talking about teaming up with a guy like that. And I think it would maybe, if you were Kyrie Irving, you might rethink what you were, about possibly going to someplace like Brooklyn if you weren't going to have Durant. And maybe opt in and say, look, I'm gonna be here in Boston for another couple of years.
Well, that's gonna be my next question, and I'll throw it to you, Nick. What does this mean for Kevin Durant? Can Kevin Durant possibly, could we see him opt in for one more year, Golden State?
I think
maybe Kyrie does the same thing, so they line up again, do this whole thing all over again.
And that's really what concerns me, gentlemen, is that it's if they both opt in, and say Kyrie stays in Boston, Golden State, I think he's going to opt in and get rehab there. And AD comes to Boston, then you have pretty much three guys lined up to ditch their teams at the end of next season because they're all on one. And Kyrie is not signing more than a one-on-one. I'd be shocked.
Which you're convinced about that.
I'm convinced,
and I'm not really sure if I'm convinced about that. I think that you're right in the fact that players want to sometimes maximize, their power by doing that. But at the same time, if I'm Kyrie Irving, I rethink this thing now because I look at a situation where I'm putting $250 million on the line. So you might want to rethink it, going, whoa.
If you're Danny, do you say, hey Kyrie, no sign and trade, you have to stay if you're going to opt in, and we'll pay you the money?
Well, Kyrie Irving, I don't even know if opting in is on the table.
It's not on the table.
To Max's point, I mean, you look at what happened to Kevin Durant, you say to yourself, that could happen to me next year, mid-season, and then that huge payday is out the window.
And especially think about this with Kyrie Irving, who for almost always had injuries. He's always had injuries, and so I think that if you're Kyrie Irving, you might take another snapshot at this thing and say, wait a minute here. Maybe I got it pretty good here in Boston. I got a great team. I got great teammates. Maybe it's me that has to change a little bit.
Max, if he's going to do that, I think everybody will embrace him. If they win, it cures everything. But if he comes back with these inconsistent attitudes and the players are not meshing with him, I mean, clearly Rozier has to go. You're going to have to get rid of him. They can't coexist. You're putting your faith back in, and is it contingent upon AD coming to Boston?
Well, also,
and if AD comes to Boston, then are we going to be going through it again over next year? You're going to have two of them.
I think you still look at Kyrie as the linchpin here, and what has really changed that we said that was from the beginning of the year when everybody embraced him.
But he embraced them, Max.
To the end of the year, where it seems like when Kyrie made that statement saying, "Talk to me in July," it seemed like everything
drew a line in the sand right there.
Drew a line in the sand with the fans and with his teammates. And
wait a minute, but his behavior did too. Like we were there. I mean, the way he reacted to the media.
Yeah, but that's where it started, though.
Yeah, it started there.
In New York.
And it actually started with the call to LeBron. We were there too.
But at that point, it wasn't. You didn't get.
Well, it's just coincidental.
To me, it was more of he needed some advice. He didn't really draw the line in the sand about free agency until he said what he said in New York.
And we did a segment at the Garden after the phone call to Bron, and Chris Grenham, myself, and I think Jimmy, you might have been there, or you were the one probably agreeing with Kyrie, I'm sure. Yeah, we're all going, he's basically had load management for the whole month of January. They're playing great. Sit him out. Don't send him to MSG because they're going to destroy him. What happened? Steve Bulpett threw him a softball. It was a great question. He throws him a softball. He gave him an opportunity to defend himself, and instead he said, see me in July. And then he doubled down every time the media, unless there was a Turner camera or an ESPN camera in the press scrum, then he was charming.
I think what it comes down to is for Kyrie Irving, heading into free agency, is it Kevin Durant or nothing? Because if that's the case, or if he's willing to team up with, I don't know, Klay Thompson, Butler, any other free
Team
agent.
up with your teammates. They have talent on this team.
Well,
I
he's on the fence here, clearly.
I think the thing that we look at now is that guys do that. LeBron put a blueprint out there of what you can do, and picking your team and being a free agent and going with certain guys now just come together and say, this is what I want to do. And you, as much as I know you kind of hated the fact that players have a lot of power like this, but I come from an era where we had no power. When you were a free agent, and you were a free agent, but you were a free agent with a limitation
that
they'd have to give something back. You were never you were a restricted free agent. For instance, Indiana came to me with a contract. Maybe it was my third year in the league, and said, we want to sign you. And I was like, well, wow, I wouldn't mind doing that. But Red threatened the Indiana Pacers with, well, we're going to get this player and this player back in compensation. We're going to tear your team up because of that. Well, now that you don't have that, and I'm able to see it, that's total free agency, and you played for that particular thing. You played with your team. You did what you needed to do.